The great chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the massive hall, their different shapes and colors creating a living rainbow of alien life. Above them all, the holographic display showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Earth. Commander Zix of the Zephyrian Empire slammed his clawed fist on his speaking podium. His red scales glowed brighter with anger. "This madness must end now," he roared. "The humans grow stronger every day. Their radio signals pollute space. Their primitive rockets reach toward our worlds. Soon they will have weapons that can threaten us all." Many voices agreed with him. The insect-like hive queens clicked their approval. The crystalline beings from Arcturus chimed in harmony. The floating gas creatures from the outer rim pulsed with worried colors. "We should have destroyed them decades ago," continued Zix. "One orbital bombardment would solve this problem forever. Why do we wait?" Dr. Vorthak of the Scholar Collective raised a tentacle for attention. The elderly creature's purple skin was marked with the scars of long study. "Violence is not always the answer, Commander. The humans are interesting. They create art, music, stories. They dream of reaching the stars. Perhaps we should study them first." "Study them?" Zix laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They are nothing but aggressive primitives. Look at their history. War after war. They fight each other constantly. Give them space travel, and they will bring that violence to us." The debate grew louder. Some species wanted immediate action. Others called for patience. The noise filled the great chamber until it became impossible to understand anyone. Then a voice cut through the chaos like a blade through silk. "Enough." The word was soft, but every being in the chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the highest platform, where the ancient counselor Malthan sat. The ethereal collective had sent their oldest and wisest representative. Malthan looked like a tall, thin humanoid made of silver light. When he moved, stars seemed to dance in his translucent body. "You argue about things you do not understand," Malthan said. His voice carried the weight of eons. "You see only the surface of the human species. You know nothing of what lies beneath." Commander Zix's scales darkened. "What is there to know? They are violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. The sooner we remove them, the safer we all are." Malthan's star-filled eyes focused on the Zephyrian commander. "Dangerous? Yes, but not in the way you think." He paused, and the silence stretched, like a held breath. "There are things about the humans that even this council does not fully understand. Secrets that we have kept for 200 of their years." Dr. Vorthak leaned forward eagerly. "What secrets? The Scholar Collective has studied every available report about Earth." "Not every report," Malthan replied. "There are files that only the eldest members of the council have seen. Records of encounters that were classified at the highest level. Information so disturbing that we agreed never to speak of it openly." The chamber erupted again, but this time with curiosity instead of anger. What could be so terrible about one small planet of primitives that the council would hide it? Queen Visara of the Hive spoke with the voice of 10 million insects. "If there are secrets, we demand to know them. The safety of our species may depend on understanding these humans." Other voices joined hers. The crystalline beings sang their agreement. The gas creatures pulsed urgent colors. Even Commander Zix nodded his massive head. Malthan stood slowly, his form flickering like a candle in the wind. He looked incredibly old and tired. "Very well, but understand this. Once you know the truth about humanity, you cannot unknow it. It will change how you see not just them, but yourselves and the entire galaxy." He raised one hand, and the holographic display changed. Instead of showing Earth, it now displayed the seal of the highest classification level, files that could only be opened by unanimous council vote. I will share with you the records of our first true contact with humanity. Not the distant observations we have made public, but the actual meetings, the encounters that taught us why we cannot simply destroy this species. The voting began immediately. One by one, each species cast their approval. The Zephyrians voted yes, eager to learn what made humans so dangerous. The Scholar Collective voted yes, hungry for knowledge. The Hive Queens voted yes with buzzing excitement. Even the most cautious species agreed. When the last vote was recorded, Malthan nodded solemnly. Then let me tell you about the hegemony incident. Let me show you what happened when we first truly met the humans face to face. The chamber lights dimmed. New holograms began to form in the air above them. They showed a different time, a different place. A moon base surrounded by mining equipment. Ships that looked nothing like the sleek vessels of today. 200 years ago, the hegemony thought as many of you do now, Malthan began. They saw Earth as a simple problem with a simple solution. They established a mining operation on Earth's moon, confident that the primitive humans would never notice or care. The hologram showed massive machines digging into the lunar surface. Alien workers moved between the equipment like busy ants. The humans noticed. New images appeared. Radio telescopes on Earth turning toward the moon. Scientists studying strange readings. Governments holding secret meetings. Instead of panicking, instead of worshiping us as gods, instead of hiding in fear, they did something unexpected. Malthan's voice grew softer, almost wondering. They tried to talk to us. The holographic Earth began sending signals toward the moon. Mathematical sequences, pictures made of radio waves, even crude rockets carrying messages of peace. The hegemony commander was amused. He thought it would be entertaining to meet these primitive creatures before wiping them out. He allowed a small group of humans to visit the lunar base. Commander Zix leaned forward, his red scales bright with interest. And what happened when they arrived? Malthan's form flickered brighter for a moment. Something that changed everything. We thought we knew about intelligence, about potential, about what it means to be truly alive. The hologram froze on the image of a primitive human spacecraft approaching the alien base. The humans came not as conquerors or supplicants, but as students eager to learn and teachers ready to share. What happened next defied every prediction our scientists had made about first contact with a primitive species. The chamber was completely silent now. Every being waited to hear what could be so shocking about a meeting between advanced aliens and primitive humans. Malthan looked around the great hall one last time. Are you certain you want to know? Once I show you what the humans are truly capable of, there will be no going back to seeing them as simple primitives. The silence continued. No one spoke, but the answer was clear in every alien face and form. They had to know. Very well, Malthan whispered. Let me show you why the galaxy learned to fear not human weapons or human strength, but something far more dangerous, human nature itself. The hologram shifted and expanded until the entire chamber felt like they were standing on the moon's surface 200 years ago. Ancient mining equipment stretched in all directions. Alien workers from the old hegemony moved between massive drilling machines that carved deep into the lunar rock. Commander Malthan's voice echoed in the recreated scene. The hegemony believed they were dealing with a standard primitive species. Their mining operation had been running for 15 Earth years without any problems. The humans had only just begun launching their first satellites. The scene changed to show Earth from space. Tiny metal objects orbited the blue planet like slow-moving stars. But humans are curious creatures, Malthan continued. Their satellites were not just for communication. They were watching, learning. And when they noticed things on their moon that should not be there, they did not ignore it. New images showed human observatories tracking strange movements on the lunar surface. Scientists gathered around computers, pointing at data that made no sense. Government officials holding urgent meetings behind closed doors. The hegemony commander, General Thane, received reports of human activity with amusement. He had conquered 43 worlds during his career. Earth would be number 44, and probably the easiest. The hologram focused on a massive alien figure standing in the main control room of the lunar base. General Thane looked like a mountain of muscle and armor. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world, making them incredibly strong. Smaller. Aliens scurried around him, bringing reports and receiving orders. The first human attempt at contact came through radio signals, Malthan explained. Simple mathematics at first. Prime numbers. Basic equations. The kind of thing any intelligence might use to prove they could think. The control room filled with beeping sounds as human radio messages reached the base. Alien technicians looked puzzled as they decoded the transmissions. General Thane laughed, Malthan continued. He had seen this before on other worlds. Primitive species often tried to communicate when they realized they were not alone. It always ended the same way, with submission or destruction. But the human messages kept coming. Mathematical proofs grew more complex. Pictures made of radio waves showed human art, music, and science. Messages in multiple languages tried to establish peaceful contact. Then came the first rocket, Malthan said. The scene shifted to show a primitive human spacecraft approaching the lunar base. It was crude compared to alien technology, held together with metal plates and powered by chemical rockets. But it flew straight and true toward the mining operation. General Thane could have destroyed it easily, Malthan explained. One energy blast would have vaporized the entire craft. Instead, his curiosity got the better of him. He allowed the rocket to land. The human spacecraft touched down near the alien base. A small hatch opened, and out came a metal container no bigger than a briefcase. Inside the container were gifts, Malthan continued. Music recordings from human composers, pictures of Earth's beauty. Mathematical proofs showing human understanding of physics and chemistry, and a message written in every human language, all saying the same thing. The holographic message appeared in the air above them, translated into Galactic Standard. We come in peace. We wish to learn from you and share what we know. We are ready to be part of something greater than ourselves. General Thane was intrigued despite himself, Malthan said. Most species either attacked or cowered when faced with superior technology. The humans were doing neither. They were trying to make friends. The scene changed to show more human rockets arriving over the following months. Each one brought new gifts, new messages, new attempts at communication. The humans sent samples of their art, their music, their literature. They shared their scientific discoveries and asked questions about the universe. The messages showed something that disturbed the general, Malthan continued. The humans were not just copying alien technology, they were understanding it, improving it, making it better. Alien technicians examined human modifications to their equipment. Simple changes that made mining drills more efficient, new alloys that were stronger than what the hegemony used, energy solutions that reduced power consumption. Finally, General Thane made a decision that would change galactic history, Malthan said. He sent a message to Earth. Not a demand for surrender or a threat of destruction, an invitation. The holographic message appeared. Representatives of Earth are welcome to visit our facility for direct communication and cultural exchange. The Galactic Council chamber was completely silent. Commander Zix's red scales had faded to a dull orange. Dr. Vorthak's tentacles were perfectly still. Even the hive queens had stopped their constant clicking. The human response arrived within days, Malthan continued. A new message appeared. Thank you for this incredible opportunity. We have selected our best diplomats, scientists, and cultural representatives to meet with you. We bring gifts of friendship and hope for a peaceful future between our peoples. The scene shifted to show a larger human spacecraft approaching the lunar base. This one was different from the crude rockets that had come before. It was sleeker, more advanced, clearly built with some understanding of alien technology principles. In just months, the humans had improved their space travel by centuries, Malthan explained. They had studied our exhaust trails, analyzed our energy signatures, and somehow figured out basic principles of advanced propulsion. The human ship landed gracefully near the base. The airlock opened, and out stepped 5 figures in bulky spacesuits. They moved carefully in the low gravity, but their steps showed determination rather than fear. The delegation consisted of Dr. Sarah Chen, a physicist, Ambassador Michael Rodriguez, a diplomat, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a biologist, Professor Amara Okafor, a linguist, and Captain James Mitchell, a military officer who had volunteered to represent human defense forces. The humans approached the alien base with obvious wonder. Their helmet cameras recorded everything, transmitting data back to Earth in real time. But they also moved with purpose, clearly having prepared for this moment their entire lives. General Thane met them at the main entrance, Malthan continued. He expected to see primitive savages overwhelmed by superior technology. Instead, he found himself facing beings who looked at his base not with worship or fear, but with the eager curiosity of students ready to learn. The hologram showed the first face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens. General Thane towered over the small human figures, but they stood straight and tall. Dr. Chen stepped forward and through. A translation device spoke the first human words ever heard on an alien base. "Thank you for welcoming us. We are honored to meet you and hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." General Thane later reported that something in her voice made him hesitate, Malthan said. There was no calculation. In it, no hidden agenda. The human meant exactly what she said. She genuinely wanted to be friends. The scene continued, showing the humans being given a tour of the base. They asked endless questions about everything they saw. How did the mining equipment work? What materials were they extracting? How did the life support systems function? What was it like to travel between the stars? But they also shared, Malthan continued. When shown alien music, they played human songs in return. When given alien food to try, they offered human snacks from their supplies. Every interaction was an exchange, not just a taking. The humans spent 3 days at the base. They learned everything they could, but they also taught. Dr. Chen showed. Alien engineers knew ways to process materials. Ambassador Rodriguez shared human diplomatic techniques for resolving conflicts. Dr. Tanaka discussed biological adaptation strategies that fascinated alien scientists. By the time they left, General Thane faced a problem he had never encountered before, Malthan concluded. He had orders to eliminate the human species, but after meeting them, after talking with them, after seeing their genuine desire for peaceful cooperation, he found himself unable to carry out those orders. The hologram faded, leaving the council chamber in normal light once again. What did he do? Dr. Vorthak asked quietly. Malthan's form flickered with what might have been sadness. He made a choice that would define how the galaxy deals with humanity to this day. He chose to protect them instead of destroying them. Commander Zix leaned forward, his voice strangely subdued. But why? They were still primitives, still potentially dangerous. Because, Malthan replied, General Thane realized that the humans possessed something more powerful than any weapon, more dangerous than any army. They had the ability to make their enemies want to become their friends. The holographic recreation continued, showing the lunar base 3 days after the human delegation's arrival. General Thane stood in his command center, watching security feeds of the humans as they explored the facility with their alien guides. What you are about to see disturbed the general more than any battle he had ever fought, Malthan explained to the assembled council, because it challenged everything the hegemony believed about primitive species. The main viewing screen showed Dr. Sarah Chen examining a mining drill with obvious fascination. She asked her guide, a spider-like engineer named Crix, to explain how the quantum resonance system worked. Quantum resonance, Dr. Chen repeated, her voice full of excitement, even through the translation device. We theorized about something, similar on Earth, but never had the technology to test it. The way you're using particle entanglement to break molecular bonds. It's brilliant! Crix's compound eyes blinked in surprise. You understand quantum entanglement, but your species has barely achieved chemical rocket propulsion. Dr. Chen laughed, a sound that seemed to echo strangely in the alien facility. Understanding and building are different things. We know lots of theories we can't put into practice yet. Einstein predicted quantum entanglement over a century ago. We just never figured out how to make it work for mining. Einstein? Crix asked. One of our greatest scientists. He figured out that space and time are connected, that nothing can travel faster than light, and that energy and mass are the same thing. We've built some pretty incredible things based on his ideas, but we're still learning. General Thane leaned forward in his command chair. According to their intelligence, humans were supposed to be primitive savages who barely understood fire. Yet this one was discussing advanced physics like she had been born to it. The scene shifted to show Ambassador Rodriguez talking with the base's diplomatic officer, a tall, blue-skinned creature called Zenth. They were discussing conflict resolution, techniques. On Earth, we've learned that the best way to end a fight is to understand why it started, Rodriguez was saying. Most wars happen because people feel threatened or misunderstood. If you can address those feelings, you can often find peaceful solutions. But what if your enemy truly wants to destroy you? Zenth asked. What if they see you as an infection to be cleansed? Rodriguez considered this carefully. Then you defend yourself, but you also try to show them a better way. Sometimes people who seem like enemies are just afraid. If you can prove you're not a threat, if you can show them benefits to cooperation instead of conflict, minds can change. This is naive thinking, Zenth replied. Some species are inherently aggressive. They cannot be reasoned with. Maybe, Rodriguez agreed. But you won't know until you try. And trying costs much less than fighting. General Thane watched this exchange with growing unease. The human diplomat was describing strategies that had ended several galactic conflicts, techniques the hegemony had spent centuries developing. How did a primitive species understand advanced diplomatic theory? The cameras followed Dr. Tanaka as she examined the base's biological systems with growing wonder. The life support systems used a complex ecosystem of plants and microorganisms to recycle air and water. This is incredible, she told her guide, a plant-like being called Bloom. You've created a perfect closed-loop system. Every waste product becomes food for something else. Nothing is lost. This is standard technology, Bloom rustled. All space installations use biological recycling. We're just starting to figure this out on Earth, Dr. Tanaka replied. We call it permaculture, designing systems that work with nature instead of against it. We've been trying to apply it to farming, water treatment, even city planning. But this is so much more elegant than anything we've achieved. She knelt down to examine a strange flowering plant that glowed with soft blue light. This converts carbon dioxide to oxygen, right? And the light helps other plants photosynthesize. It's like a biological battery that powers itself. How do you understand this so quickly? Bloom asked, genuinely puzzled. Most species take years to grasp biological engineering principles. Dr. Tanaka smiled. Because we've been doing something similar for thousands of years, just not as well. Humans learned agriculture 10,000 years ago. We've been breeding plants and animals, managing ecosystems, studying how life interconnects. We just never had access to species from other worlds. In his command center, General Thane felt a chill run through his massive frame. These humans weren't just learning alien technology. They were connecting it to knowledge they already had. They were building on it, improving it, making it their own. The scene moved to Professor Okafor working with the base's translation systems alongside a collective intelligence called the Network. The network consisted of dozens of small, glowing beings that shared thoughts and memories instantly. "Your language is fascinating," Professor Okafor said. "You communicate through shared consciousness, but you still use individual words and concepts. It's like a combination of telepathy and traditional speech." "We are surprised you grasp this concept," the network replied in perfect unison. "Most single-mind species find our communication method disturbing." "Oh, we have something similar on Earth," Professor Okafor explained. "Not as advanced as yours, but humans are highly social. We share ideas, emotions, even unconscious behaviors. Through groups. When humans work together closely, they start thinking alike, moving in sync, even finishing each other's thoughts." She pulled out a small device, a primitive computer by alien standards, but advanced for Earth technology. "I've been studying how human groups share information. Military units, scientific teams, even families develop their own languages and thought patterns. We call it collective intelligence." The network buzzed with excitement. "Show us more of this human collective behavior." Professor Okafor spent hours sharing examples of human cooperation. Sports teams that moved like single organisms. Orchestras that created music no individual could make alone. Scientific communities that built on each other's work to solve impossible problems. "The interesting thing," she concluded, "is that humans get stronger when they work together, but they don't lose their individuality. Each person stays unique while contributing to something bigger." The final camera followed Captain Mitchell as he discussed defense strategies with the base's security chief, a heavily armored creature called Granite. "Your weapons are impressive," Mitchell admitted, examining an energy rifle. "Much more advanced than anything we have on Earth. But I noticed something interesting about your base design." "What is that?" Granite rumbled. "It's not really built for defense," Mitchell observed. "Your entrances are open, your vital systems are accessible, your weapons are designed for mining work, not combat. You're not expecting to be attacked." "Why? Would we be?" "This is a mining operation on an uninhabited moon." Mitchell nodded. "That makes sense. But on Earth, we've learned to always be ready for unexpected threats. Not because we want to fight, but because being prepared for defense can prevent fights from happening." He sketched some diagrams on a tablet. "Simple changes could make this place much more secure without interfering with mining operations. Hidden defensive positions, redundant life support systems, emergency protocols. The goal isn't to hurt anyone, it's to make attacking too costly to be worth it." Granite studied the human suggestions with growing interest. "These ideas, they could work. But why share defensive strategies with us? We could use them against your world." Captain Mitchell looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would you want to attack Earth? We're trying to be friends with you. Besides, if everyone has good defenses, then no one needs to attack anyone. Everyone stays safe." General Thane had heard enough. He called the human delegation to his command center for a final meeting before their departure. The 5 humans stood before the massive alien commander, dwarfed by his size and surrounded by advanced technology that could vaporize their entire planet. But they showed no fear. Instead, they looked excited and grateful. "Thank you for this incredible opportunity," Dr. Chen said. "We've learned more in 3 days than our species has discovered in centuries. The knowledge you've shared will help us improve life for everyone on Earth. And we hope what we've shared helps you too," Ambassador Rodriguez added. "Our civilizations are at different technological levels, but we can still learn from each other." General Thane studied them carefully. "You are not what we expected. Our intelligence reports described humans as violent, primitive, and dangerous. We can be violent," Captain Mitchell admitted honestly. "We can be primitive and dangerous too. But we're also curious, cooperative, and hopeful. Which side shows depends on how we're treated." "What will you do now?" General Thane asked. "You have seen technology far beyond your current capabilities. You know you are not alone in the universe." The humans looked at each other, then Dr. Chen stepped forward. "We'll go home and share what we've learned. We'll work harder to develop space travel so we can meet more people like you. We'll try to solve our problems on Earth, so we're ready to be good neighbors in the galaxy. And we'll wait," Ambassador Rodriguez added. "Wait for you to decide if you want to be friends with humanity. We won't pressure you or try to—" The holographic display shifted again, showing a timeline that stretched across decades. Malthan's voice carried the weight of long observation as he continued the story. General Thane's report bought humanity time, but it also began something else. The most comprehensive study of any species in galactic history, Malthan explained. The hegemony, and later other civilizations, established hidden observation posts throughout Earth's solar system. What they documented over the following decades revealed a pattern that disturbed even our most experienced xenobiologists. The display showed multiple alien stations, some on asteroids, others on the outer planets, all focused on the small blue world that had somehow defied every prediction about primitive species. The first major test came during what humans called World War II, Malthan continued. The scene changed to show Earth in the 1940s. Cities burned under bombs. Millions of soldiers fought across continents. Death camps operated with industrial efficiency. Our observers expected this conflict to prove human nature was inherently violent and destructive, Malthan said. Instead, they witnessed something unprecedented. The display focused on specific human behaviors during the war. Soldiers sharing rations with starving civilians. Doctors treating wounded enemies alongside their own troops. Resistance fighters risking their lives to save strangers from persecution. Even in their darkest moment, humans showed consistent patterns of cooperation and compassion, Malthan observed. But more disturbing was what happened after the war ended. The timeline moved forward to show post-war reconstruction. The devastated nations that had fought each other were now working together to rebuild. Former enemies became allies. International organizations formed to prevent future conflicts. Species psychology models predict that after such devastating warfare, civilizations either destroy themselves or become permanently militaristic, Malthan explained. Humans did neither. They used their weapons technology to reach space faster. They turned radar systems into radio telescopes. They converted fighter jet designs into passenger aircraft. Commander Zix's scales had dulled to a confused brown. That makes no strategic sense. Why would they help rebuild enemies who might attack them again? That question puzzled our observers for decades, Malthan replied. They got their answer during the next major crisis. The scene shifted to the 1960s, showing the Cuban Missile Crisis. For 13 days, two human superpowers stood on the brink of nuclear war while the galaxy watched. This was it, Malthan continued. The moment our analysts predicted humans would finally reveal their true nature. Faced with potential annihilation, they would surely choose to strike first, to destroy before being destroyed. The display showed tense meetings in the White House and the Kremlin. Military leaders argued for immediate attacks. Nuclear submarines waited for orders to launch. The world held its breath. Instead, both sides chose to step back, Malthan said, softly. Not because they were weak or cowardly, but because they recognized the cost of violence would be too high. They chose to risk looking foolish rather than risk destroying their world. The alien observers had documented frantic communications between the human leaders, secret negotiations, compromises that let both sides claim victory while actually ensuring no one had to lose. But the most remarkable part came afterward, Malthan continued. Both superpowers immediately began working to prevent such a crisis from happening again. They established direct communication lines. They signed treaties limiting nuclear weapons. They created systems for resolving conflicts before they reached the point of potential war. Dr. Vorthak's tentacles writhed with excitement. Fascinating! They learned from near disaster and adapted their behavior to prevent repetition. Exactly, Malthan agreed. And this pattern repeated over and over. The timeline accelerated, showing crisis after crisis throughout human history. Natural disasters that triggered international relief efforts, diseases that sparked global cooperation on medical research, economic collapses that led to new systems of mutual support. Each time, the pattern was the same, Malthan explained. Faced with a challenge, humans would initially respond with their usual chaos and confusion. But then, almost inevitably, they would find ways to cooperate, to share resources, to turn problems into opportunities for building something better. The display focused on the 1980s, showing the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Radiation spread across borders, threatening millions of people. Our observers expected this to trigger blame, warfare, or at least permanent hostility between nations, Malthan said. Instead, it became a catalyst for unprecedented cooperation in nuclear safety. Human scientists shared research freely across political boundaries. Former enemies worked together to develop better safety protocols. The scene moved to the 1990s and early 2000s. The internet expanded across the globe, connecting humans in ways that had never existed before. We watched as humans used this new technology, Malthan continued. They could have used it primarily for surveillance, for military coordination, for controlling their populations. Instead, they created a global network for sharing knowledge, art, and culture. The display showed humans using the internet to collaborate on scientific research, to organize relief efforts for natural disasters, to maintain friendships across vast distances. They shared music, stories, and ideas freely with anyone who wanted to access them. But the most disturbing observation came during their response to global pandemics, Malthan said. The scene shifted to show various disease outbreaks over the decades: SARS, MERS, H1N1, and others. In each case, human medical researchers immediately began sharing data across national boundaries. They gave away their research, Dr. Vorthak said, sounding amazed. They shared medical discoveries that could have been profitable. Without hesitation, Malthan confirmed. When faced with threats to human life, they consistently chose cooperation over competition, even when it cost them economically. The timeline moved to more recent decades, showing climate change research. Human scientists from every nation worked together to study global warming, sharing data and coordinating responses despite political tensions between their governments. They identified a threat to their entire species and responded by increasing cooperation rather than competition for resources, Malthan observed. This behavior defies every model of species survival we have. Commander Zix leaned forward, his voice strangely quiet. What about their space program? Surely their expansion beyond Earth revealed their true aggressive nature. Malthan's form flickered with what might have been amusement. That may be the most disturbing part of all. The display showed the International Space Station, a collaboration between former enemies orbiting Earth. Astronauts from different nations worked side by side, conducting experiments that benefited all of humanity. When humans finally achieved sustainable space travel, they immediately made it a cooperative endeavor, Malthan explained. Their space stations are international projects. Their Mars missions are joint ventures. They plan their expansion into the solar system as a species-wide effort, not as competing national or corporate interests. The images showed human plans for lunar colonies, Mars settlements, and asteroid mining operations, all designed as collaborative efforts that would share resources and knowledge among all Earth's nations. But here is what truly alarmed our observers, Malthan continued. In all their planning for space expansion, humans consistently included provisions for contact with alien species. The display showed human protocols for first contact scenarios, detailed plans for peaceful communication with alien civilizations, training programs for diplomats and scientists who might encounter non-human intelligence. They assumed we exist, Dr. Vorthak breathed. They planned for meeting us. More than that, Malthan replied. They assumed we might be friends. Every human first contact protocol begins with attempts at peaceful communication and cultural exchange. They prepare for the possibility of conflict, yes, but they hope for cooperation. The assembled council members sat in stunned silence as the full implications sank in. The humans weren't just anomalous in their cooperation with their own species. They extended that same cooperative instinct to beings they had never even met. The pattern is clear, Malthan concluded. When faced with challenges, humans consistently choose solutions that make everyone stronger rather than solutions that give them advantage over others. When they encounter potential enemies, they try to convert them into allies. When they discover new opportunities, they look for ways to share rather than hoard. Queen Visara spoke with the voice of 10 million insects. This is not normal behavior for an intelligent species. No, Malthan agreed. It is not. Which brings us to the most disturbing discovery of all. The holographic timeline paused on recent years, showing multiple hidden first contact attempts by various alien species. Over the past 50 years, 12 different civilizations have attempted direct contact with humanity, Malthan revealed. Some came as potential conquerors, others as traders or explorers. A few came as researchers planning to study humans like laboratory specimens. The display showed various alien ships approaching Earth, making contact with human governments or individuals. The holographic display changed one final time, showing a series of alien vessels approaching Earth over the past 50 years. Each ship represented a different species, a different intention, and a different outcome that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. "Let me tell you about the Rakthani Purge Fleet," Malthan began, his voice heavy with the weight of impossible truth. The first scene showed a massive black warship emerging from hyperspace near Earth's moon. The vessel bristled with weapons designed to sterilize entire planets. Its hull bore the crimson markings of the Rakthani Empire, a species that had conquered 47 worlds through swift, brutal attacks. Fleet Commander Vash received orders to eliminate humanity before they could develop interstellar travel. Malthan continued. The Rakthani had perfected the art of genocidal warfare. They would bombard a planet until all complex life died, then colonize the empty world. The warship moved into Earth orbit, its weapon systems charging for the final strike. But then something unexpected happened. A transmission from Earth reached the ship. The humans had detected the Rakthani vessel, Malthan explained. Instead of panicking or attempting to flee, they sent a message. The translation appeared in the air above the council. "Welcome to our solar system. We are the humans of Earth. We don't know who you are or why you've come, but we hope you come in peace. If you need assistance, medical aid, or supplies, we're ready to help. If you're here to learn about us, we're eager to share. We hope this can be the beginning of a friendship between our peoples." Commander Zix's scales had turned completely white. They offered aid to a ship preparing to destroy them? They had no way of knowing the Rakthani intentions, Malthan replied. To humans, the appearance of alien visitors was cause for celebration, not fear. The scene continued, showing Fleet Commander Vash's reaction aboard his warship. The massive reptilian warrior stared at the human message in disbelief. Commander Vash had destroyed civilizations that begged for mercy. Malthan continued. He had obliterated species that offered tribute or surrender. But he had never encountered a species that welcomed potential destroyers with offers of friendship. The human transmissions continued over the following days. Earth's governments worked together to send coordinated messages of welcome. Scientists shared their research freely, hoping to find common ground. Artists broadcasted music, literature, and visual art into space. Children drew pictures of humans and aliens playing together, Malthan said softly. Musicians composed songs about the wonders of meeting beings from other worlds. Poets wrote about the beauty of a universe filled with diverse life. Commander Vash found himself watching these transmissions obsessively. He saw human families gathered around televisions, excitedly discussing the possibility of alien contact. He saw scientists working day and night to prepare peaceful greetings in mathematical languages. He saw leaders putting aside their differences to present a united, welcoming face to the stars. For the first time in his career, Commander Vash hesitated, Malthan continued. He sent a small probe to Earth's surface, expecting to gather intelligence for his attack. Instead, the probe was surrounded by humans offering gifts and trying to communicate. The scene showed crowds gathering around the alien probe in Times Square. Instead of fear or hostility, the humans brought flowers, music, food, and pictures of their families. Children drew pictures and held them up for the probe's cameras. The probe's recordings showed something Commander Vash had never seen on 47 previous worlds. Malthan explained. A species that genuinely wanted to be friends with aliens they knew nothing about. Days passed. The Rakthani fleet held position while Commander Vash wrestled with orders that suddenly seemed impossible to carry out. How could he destroy beings who had welcomed him so warmly? How could he obliterate children who drew pictures of Rakthani and human children playing together? Finally, Commander Vash made a decision that changed galactic history, Malthan said. He sent a message to Earth. The alien transmission appeared. People of Earth, I am Commander Vash of the Rakthani Empire. I came here to destroy your world. But your welcome has shown me something I have never seen before. A species that chooses hope over fear, friendship over hostility. I cannot carry out my orders. Instead, I ask your permission to land and meet with your representatives. The human response came within hours. Commander Vash, you are welcome on Earth. We understand that first contact is complicated and that misunderstandings can happen. We're honored that you've chosen to meet with us instead of the alternative. We look forward to learning from each other and building a friendship between our peoples. Commander Vash landed on Earth with a small diplomatic team, Malthan continued. He expected to negotiate some form of surrender or tribute arrangement. Instead, he found himself treated as an honored guest. The scene showed the massive Rakthani, warriors being welcomed at the United Nations. Human dignitaries greeted them with genuine warmth. Translators worked frantically to establish communication. Children presented the aliens with flowers and drawings. The humans were fascinated by Rakthani culture, Malthan explained. They asked about their homeworld, their technology, their art and music. They wanted to know about other worlds the Rakthani had visited. They were eager to establish trade relationships and cultural exchanges. But the humans also sensed something was wrong with their visitors. The Rakthani warriors seemed haunted, reluctant to discuss their past. Commander Vash appeared to be carrying some heavy burden. Dr. Elizabeth Manning, Earth's lead xenopsychologist, recognized the signs, Malthan continued. She approached Commander Vash privately and asked a simple question. What have you done that hurts so much to remember? The scene showed the private conversation between the human psychologist and the alien commander. Commander Vash broke down and confessed the truth about his mission, about the 47 worlds he had destroyed, about the orders he could no longer carry out. Dr. Manning's response defined humanity's approach to alien contact, Malthan said. She didn't recoil in horror or demand justice. Instead, she said, "You've made terrible mistakes, but you're here now, trying to do better. That's what matters. How can we help you find a better way?" Over the following months, Commander Vash and his crew underwent what humans called rehabilitation, therapy. They worked with psychologists to process their guilt and trauma. They participated in reconstruction projects using their advanced technology to help build rather than destroy. The transformation was remarkable, Malthan continued. Warriors who had spent centuries destroying civilizations became builders, healers, and teachers. They established the first interspecies medical exchange program, sharing Rakthani healing technology in exchange for human psychological therapy techniques. The holographic scene shifted to show other first contact scenarios playing out across the decades. The pattern repeated with every species that encountered humanity directly, Malthan explained. The Zephyrian scouting expedition that came to study human aggression ended up establishing the first interspecies art collaboration. The Vorthak research team that planned to conduct experiments on humans instead became partners in joint scientific projects. The Hive Queen's infiltration mission transformed into the galaxy's first interspecies cultural exchange program. Each scenario showed the same impossible pattern. Aliens arrived with hostile or exploitative intentions, but found themselves changed by human contact. The humans' consistent response of welcome, curiosity, and genuine desire for friendship somehow converted enemies into allies. But surely some species resisted, Dr. Vorthak protested. Surely some maintained their hostility despite human overtures. Malthan's form flickered with something that might have been sadness. Oh, yes. Several species attempted to maintain their original hostile intentions. The results were enlightening. The display showed a crystal-based species called the Shatterers, who had tried to maintain their plan to harvest human brains for processing power. When their infiltration team made contact, the humans immediately offered to help them develop better computer technology instead. The human response to learning about the Shatterers' needs was typical, Malthan explained. Instead of horror at being seen as resources to be harvested, they asked, "Why do you need so much processing power? Maybe we can help you find a better solution." The Shatterers found themselves working with human computer scientists to develop quantum processing systems that were more efficient than brain harvesting. Their infiltration mission became a joint technology development project. Even more disturbing was the response of the Void Seekers, Malthan continued. The scene showed a species of energy beings who fed on the despair and suffering of other civilizations. They had come to Earth expecting to find a planet full of the negative emotions that sustained them. Instead, they found a species that consistently chose hope over despair, cooperation over conflict, and healing over suffering, Malthan explained. The Void Seekers began to starve in the presence of such persistent optimism. But the humans, upon learning about the Void Seekers' nature, didn't try to destroy them. Instead, they offered alternative forms of sustenance,